Thank you, Congressman, for your incredibly powerful words. And let me lead by apologizing to you again on behalf of our city, that you and your office were treated with such profound disrespect. That's a personal embarrassment to me. And I'm sorry that you and your staff even had to deal with this incredible indignity. I just spoke a moment ago about injustice. And it manifests itself in many obvious, but also subtle and insidious ways. Of course, when a black man dies in the street with a white police officer's knee on his neck, it is murder, but it's also profoundly unjust. And we can have no tolerance for that ever, and people are rightly outraged. But equally unacceptable is when there is looting and brazen criminal conduct, also unjust. And it really is the height of injustice when police are deployed, given a mission, and they fail to act. That, too, is injustice. Public safety cannot be a commodity that is only available to the wealthy and connected. Public safety must be a reality everywhere, in every neighborhood of our city, period. When you swear an oath to serve and protect, you are a Chicago police officer, not a police officer for only certain neighborhoods and only at certain times. That is not how it is or will ever be in our city. Now, you've all seen me angry, unfortunately, a lot lately. I was and I still am angry at the murder of George Floyd, of Breonna Taylor, of Ahmaud Arbery, and way too many others. And I was angry when looters hijacked righteous protesters and targeted black communities. I was angry and concerned when black and Latinx tension threatened to tear apart our city, just at a time when we needed to stand united. And I'm angry today. As a black woman, we are often told, don't show your rage. Don't let them paint you as another angry black woman. Don't scold. Don't curse. Keep it together. Be respectable and presentable. Now, my life in this country has forced me to be angry and determined to be a fighter. All my life, I have fought with every fiber of my being. To survive in a world that was built to throw flaming roadblocks in our way as black people. And I am working every day to instill that fight and that determination in my black daughter and show her that even, yes, we have a responsibility to live our full and authentic lives, even in the face of these deeply ingrained and innately violent systems of racism. And if we're angry, let's not shrink from that, but let's use our anger to get results. And what I'm also feeling in this moment is incredible resolve. I do have a range of emotions as I stand here, but mostly, I'm done. We cannot go on like this anymore. Look, we don't paint all police officers with a broad brush. That would be wrong. And I spent a lot of time being criticized for it, for praising our officers for their hard work, for their restraint, for de-escalation in the vast majority of cases over the recent weeks of unrest and protest. Those men and women are the heroes, and they have served this city honorably, and they represent the badge proudly. But the officers in this incident, and others we've seen in the past weeks, Jack, if we can show like this, have demonstrated a total disregard for their colleagues, for the badge, and for those they were sworn to serve and protect. And these officers will be held accountable. This will be investigated thoroughly. That's what we have Chief Kono of IAD here, and Sidney Roberts of the Office of Civilian Office of Police Accountability. This will be investigated thoroughly, and these officers and the supervisors will be identified, and they will be held to account. And I can tell you one thing for certain. Not one of these officers will be allowed to hide behind the badge and go on and act like nothing ever happened. Not anymore. Not in my city, not in your city. I was elected on a pledge to ensure transparency and accountability in all things, and particularly with the Chicago Police Department. We know we have a difficult and painful history in our city around delaying the release of videos depicting police misconduct. That is in part why we're showing you these images here today, less than 24 hours after I first laid eyes on them. What they show, regrettably, is that these individuals were lounging in a congressman's office, having a little hangout for themselves, while small businesses on the South Side were looted and burned, while their colleagues were getting bottles thrown at their heads and doing everything they could to protect these communities. And perhaps what is most harmful about this is that for so many people on the South and the West Side, the actions of these officers, the deplorable lack of responsibility to do their job at a time when the city and their fellow officers needed them most, their conduct will confirm the perception that too many people on the South and the West Side were left to fend for themselves, that police don't care if black and brown communities were looted and burned. And while thousands of officers served honorably on that very difficult weekend and every day since, these individuals did indeed abandon their responsibilities and their obligation and their oath to serve and protect. We should all be disgusted, and we should all feel hurt and betrayed in this moment of all moments. But let's also not lose sight of the opportunity that this presents. This is a moment to be bold. And if we don't harness this moment to rethink what serving and protecting means, we will never do it. This moment presents us with an opportunity not to nibble around the edges, but to be bold. We're already working every day to implement the requirements of the consent decree, but that's not enough. But now, in this moment, it's time for us to fully implement the recommendations of the Police Accountability Task Force more than 4 years ago that have languished. Now is the moment to be honest about the ways in which the Fraternal Order of Police contract has been holding back the necessary change and reform that we must bring to make this police department fully accountable to the residents of this city. And now is the time to act on licensing for police officers once and for all. I'm here to tell you today that I have directed my legal team to do the research and to draft the legislation. I am ready to work with the governor and our other great partners in Springfield to forge a change in state law to require licensing and certification of police officers. And I'm grateful for the attendance of Brad Cole, the leader of the Illinois Municipal League, and we will work together to make sure that we get this legislation passed. It's time, really, actually, it's way past time for this change in our state. And licensing is just one of several new measures that we must institute to make individual officers and departments far more accountable to the people. We have a long road and a hard road ahead. And none of these things is going to happen overnight. But I am grateful to have such a principled, focused partner in Superintendent Brown. He gets it, he's not afraid, and neither am I. And together, we want to be clear. You're not serving or protecting anybody when you're shouting a derogatory slur or gesture at them. You're not serving or protecting when you pull people out of their cars by their hair and beat the daylights out of them in the street. You're not serving or protecting when you make movie popcorn and put up your feet and lounge while your fellow officers are down the street getting the hell beaten out of them and doing what they swore an oath to do. So today, yes, we are angry, but we're also resolved, and we are committed. And we may not be perfect in all of our efforts from this moment forward, but we were seizing on this moment to finally make the changes that many thought were too politically sensitive or infeasible, or too big or too bold. The time for excuses is over. Our people are impatient, and rightfully so. I want to thank again the Congressman for his generosity of heart, for his lifelong journey to root out injustice, and I commit to being his partner in his quest.